I'm still debating on, do we do a small Vanguard anime discussion, or do I just kind of call it there?
I hmm. I mean, is Zeta back for the next one? Surely he's not on a ship for like 2 fucking weeks, right?
He
Or do I
should
not know how this shit works?
he should be back by then.
I mean, alternatively, it could just be a case of like you two just have more episodes to recap on in one shot.
That is true. But he did at least he did say, like, he did kind of like give me like a bit one like point that he kind of like wrote up.
Oh,
And it's like, since he can't make it to the podcast, like, hold on, see. Yeah, let me just edit that real quick. Yeah, okay. I have put that on the thing. Spoiler warning. Um, so his statement, which is, this Divine's episode completely breaks the rules of the season in half.
I yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I disagree per se.
So his other thing, and I asked him to elaborate. He said all moral stakes in doubt can be resolved as long as Hikari keeps beating the phantoms.
I you know,
If the Mishish is
I
weak enough, they can just weaken their powers without erasing the phantom. And I asked him, like, eventually they'll have to deal with Gabelius. He said, sure, but I prefer Hikari lose sooner rather than later, just to avoid the why don't we just throw Hikari at them question.
yeah.
And when he said
Yeah.
that, I got concerned, because he is in a sense completely right. Why would we let anyone else fight if Hikari can just beat them and just uh nullify the issues of them immediately kind of fading away into their original self. Not to mention, technically, depending on what the new Liel says, she's also a counter to Alphard Phantom, because she'll just PG his super phantom skill attack. She renders him useless if she goes into Keter Liel. Which we don't have a full confirmation she can just do, but if she can, she just beats Ryuga and then goes back to Odium Liel and takes care of Kurumi. Or was it Kanami? I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure Kurumi is the Phantom one.
Yes, yes, and then she just fight Kurumi. She doesn't have to die immediately, and then we have to deal with Gabrielius later. Then we can deal with Gabrielius later if we can find a reason to prevent to kind of like allow the worlds to combine. It's like I it's like, when you think about it, it is very much like, yeah, no, Hikari's presence is actually going to ruin the story if she isn't taken out soon. Because she is just the
Yeah.
ant. She is literally a Deus Ex Machina.
I'm sorry. It cut off at
Rather,
just the right timing that I thought you called her a Deus Ex Machina. So I suppose that's just Riffistor, but
I mean, shout out to Riverstar also creating this problem.
they're like, oh, it's just happened
She
to
just
happen to
saw it
jog
light
by.
up. I've now gained the power of two white women.
I God, if they were not, if these writers were not who, if I had faith, that's the best way for me to put it. If I had faith, because the back half or like the very tail end of the episode ends with Gabrielius being like, if you're gonna cause shit, I'm just gonna fucking take care of you myself. And there's one of two ways that could go. That is, that shit happens like immediately after like episode after next. Like after, can we talk about the preview for the next episode? It's
Yeah,
not much of a preview.
yeah. I mean, they
Where
literally
like
trying to hide
Michiru
whoever it
fights
is.
who I presume is Phantom Donji. Just because of the way that Michiru like vaguely describes the character. It could be Yu Yu, but I don't think they're gonna do Yu Yu. That would be too cool.
I feel like it'd be too early for Phantom.
Yeah, that too. I'm like, I think it would also be fitting to just for the back-to-back episodes being the Megami and Donji episodes.
I mean, it could also, like, people are also speculating, it could also just be Ruka too, because Wonder Hill was her idea for the whole time. So
Hmm, that's fair. But I just like it's like you either immediately have Gabuelius fight uh Hikari and take her out, which feels weird because then like we've made this big deal about Hikari being back and like being this like Katara earring fusion of both timelines versions of her and like being this magical out to all of the like stakes and like emotional like again just like emotional stakes involving all of this
mm-hmm.
only to then immediately shelve her like almost as fast as Makoto.
Yeah.
Or they say like one way or another, I think Hikari and Gabuelius with Gabuelius winning is going to happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the question of do you shotgun it now and make her coming back do functionally nothing besides I mean, I guess piss off Akina enough to want to fight Gabuelius and have a reason to fight Gabuelius beyond just getting back to their reality. Uh, or do you save it for like the end of this core, like the end of this half of the season, and like that be the cutoff? Like the final fight of the season is the Mythish fighters losing Hikari to Gabuelius. But then that is like, okay, how many fights have they had with the Phantom Fighters that haven't involved Hikari, and how do they explain her not being the one to do it? Like it loops directly back into Zeta's point about it. I'm like, yeah, there like maybe really is no good answer to this,
It's like
unfortunately.
Ikari coming back is like, I think it's fine, even though I was like, I want to see how this plays out, because I don't want to be like everyone going like, oh, this, like, they can't find a way to write Akina to have his growth be like anything, etc., etc. Like this said, it's like right when Akina's like apparently about to do something, like past season 1, they mean, like, Hikari
Uh-huh.
shows up and basically cleans up his mess. Which is like, this is like, oh no. And then this episode happened, I'm like, and then he said that, I'm like, oh. Oh God. The only way this makes any, like, fathomable sense here is that they do take her out, but then it's like, well, what the heck is she here for then?
Like,
What?
to print a new Liel. And to their credit, like, conceptually, I think Liel Animus is sick as shit. I think that's a really cool way to tie in both halves. It certainly makes the Master Deck sets make a lot more sense, relatively speaking,
Yeah?
because they have explicitly pointed out from the card preview that Animus only copies Amorta and Odium. So, fuck Draconis, I guess.
Well, I mean, Draconis doesn't exist in this world. Draconis
So,
is Erica and Gabrielius.
it
And if
is.
Gabrielius is not here,
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
so you're
It's
just
just a
back to
very
Immortal.
funny justification for them not reprinting Draconis in that deck set.
Like, yeah, don't worry, you won't need it. Just spend $80 for a playset.
Do
Wait,
we do we know what the DSRs for set 13 are?
it's blue clear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was
Now,
like,
if
do we
they,
have room for another Hikari DSR?
they'll probably put in next set, I guess. Because, like, why would
They'd
you
like they
not?
do two of them, and one is Hikari, the other is like Gabuelius, maybe.
One, or like one where it's like, oh, it's just kind of like, yeah, maybe.
I'm
I
like,
don't
I
know.
don't think they want to pass up the chance to like
Sell
put Hot
another.
Man Gabuelius on a card.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that we haven't really like we've talked so much about like Hikari and like her like presence in the show now and like what it does to the rest of the concept of the season that I'm like, oh right, Megami is also in this episode.
I mean, it's. I mean, well, before I go there, I think the answer is simply because they basically poochified Hikari. That's why we're trying to focus on it, because her presence is now like, if anyone else fights a Mythish fighter, you're wondering, but why? When we have
Mhm.
Hikari, who can just Hikari, or Erica in Hikari's body, who is a top tier fighter in the universe, because she got second at the deluxe. She is as powerful as a pro player can be outside of not winning it, which is why it's like, like, she is arguably stronger than Mikoto. She is stronger than Mikoto, but Mikoto, like, you know what I mean. The point being,
Mhm.
she is stronger than Mikoto. She could probably take Ryuga down, and there's no other reason for any other one to fight, because it's like, okay, and it's like, even if she does lose, you still have you still have like, you even if she does lose, you just kind of like only lost one person technically, because she would have taken Mikoto's slot in the team.
Mhm.
Like, you still have a whole roster of people. I would assume the idea would be that if they were to take out Hikari, it it is primarily to be like, it has to be, it will, unfortunately, because that's just kind of be, it's gonna be for Akina's growth, because at this point it's like your get out of jail free card for the past, every time you've been in trouble, is now gone. Because that's what she's kind of been. She's been Akina's get out of jail free card. Her coming back in time, preventing him from dying. Her coming back to kind of clutch up and save like past Ikari is also one of the reasons why, is simultaneously one of the reasons why Akin is actually able to beat Sibylt, but also how we got past Ikari out of her brainwashing. And technically, her being the final fight was like the moment that like actually got him the deluxe win. So in a sense, like, yeah, no, she's been his get out of jail free card. Hikari goes, he now has to actually face the consequences of his actions. But I don't think he actually understands that, and that's the problem. Like, he's been trying to understand, and that's why I was there. And then now that she's here and Zeta kind of points that out, it's like, oh God. Like, this is not going to end well. Because there's no way she survives the rest of the season unless they defeat Gabelius. Like, she will not be there looking at that final battle. She can't. If there's any stakes in this plot, she literally cannot be at that final battle of Gabelius unless she is fighting Gabelius and loses.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Megami is overshadowed, not because like she's bad. I think I think, she's, besides being the plot point of, oh, Hikari can just not destroy the Phantom. They're actually perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
She bypasses the fading, like the locking of the Phantom unit. But it's like, but also like, I think she's really fun, and she's not crazy. She's just like, she just seems like, yeah, I would be upset if she left. She was definitely like fun and a sadist.
I don't. Mm. I don't know how to phrase this in a way that doesn't like paint a target on my back. I was not expecting Femdom Megami to be half of the outcome of this episode, nor was I expecting to like it.
Oh Lord.
I'm like, no, you know what? This is actually kind of sick. I fuck with this. She's also like, the way, like, jokes aside, like, them presenting her as like this middle ground where she's not necessarily like leaning too hard towards one side or the other, and like, I don't know how else to like, I like the idea of them playing with the concept of the fighters on each side not necessarily being like hard locked to one side or the other. Like, it's not all strict opposition to one another, even down to like Burumi, like, still just kind of hanging around and
Yeah.
just be like, we'll fight when we have to, but like, we can enjoy this while we have it, right? Like, And like Megami is kind of just the next step in that.
Yeah.
I
Now, granted, when Kurumi did like hard smile when Mikoto went down,
yeah.
so it's like,
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here, but I'll be also glad if you're gone. Like she's like,
It is this like with Kurumi specifically, she feels like it feels like there's a lot of shit they could potentially do with her. Like she's kind of more than any character, she is kind of riding the fine line between the two. And like they are very explicitly showing both sides of her on that front. To the point where you have that scene this episode with Ryuga where he's like, which side are you on? And it's like the side that I like. And that in the same episode as them being like, wait, but she's like not a mythish fighter, and Vaserg is just immediately is like, it's like it really only prioritizes whoever's choosing to fight against the Parallactic. Okay, part of this is Persona 5 Royal broke my brain. So they put this exact scenario in front of me, and I'm like, I mean, I guess fucking spoilers for late stage Persona 5 Royal. The moment they revealed that Kurumi was dead, and pairing that with the way she acts in this episode and the info we know, makes me think that they're playing with the idea of her flipping sides. I don't know how likely that actually is, because she has as many scenes where she is very clearly on the side of the Phantom Fighters. But like, I cannot shake this feeling in my gut that they're like, some motherfucker on this writing staff played Persona 5 Royal. And they want someone to have the Akechi mindset of like, bitch, you brought me back from some higher motherfucker brought me back from the dead, and I don't like being toyed with. Like I'm almost shocked there isn't someone like that already. And I have to wonder if anything to that effect will like change with her mindset wise as the season goes on to lean closer to that, if it makes sense.
I mean, I feel like that has a lot to probably also true. Like,
Mhm.
like I think the final scene of the intro probably is a key in unlocking Kurumi in her like thought process.
Mhm.
Because like because it is like every time she's like, oh, hey, because every time she's out of the hospital, she's like sort of like breaking the fourth wall. Right, she's looking at the camera almost every scene where she's out the hospital.
Mm.
Like sec like Akina's trying to look around, cut to her walking, then she looks immediately at the camera, walks, turns around at the camera. Uh Blue Korea and her unit with the Kanami and Kurumi sitting there. Kurumi's looking outside. Kanami is like looking outside, then turns around and looks at the camera. She's dancing, and she's dancing, and then her last scene of the dance is she's looking at the camera, and then her final scene, she's not looking at the camera, but she's looking at the snow globe that has the town in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me of the show. I don't know if you know the show, but it was the let me look this up. Saint Elsewhere.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Saint Elsewhere, from what I remember, Saint Elsewhere was this old, like, kind of like comedy, like drama and comedy from NBC that was like one of the biggest things out there. Like it was crazy. It had 137 episodes, and like it was like one of the first shows of that had like this starred Ed Flanders, David Burnley, Terrence Knox, Howie Mandel, Christina Pickles, Cynthia Sykes, Denzel Washington. Let's see. Like it had a bunch of like people who were big or going to be big, right?
Hmm.
But the ending of that show is notorious for being considered like the worst episode of the series.
Hmm.
So it is called The Last One. So here's the Wikipedia like ending article of it is Westport agrees to take over the running of St. Elgus, which is the hospital that they all are in. When Welgert sells the hospital back to the Boston DOCs, Ella's offered a job in Cleveland, and Craig agrees to go along with her. However, this is like the whole point is like it's all very fast. It's all very quick. It's like, whoa, hold on, we're kind of closing the story pretty fast. The last line is the hospital and the people who work there are revealed to be figments in the mind of an autistic boy who stared at a snow globe with the hospital building inside of it.
Oh. Oh, I see.
Yeah. She's not looking at the camera anymore, but she's looking at the snow globe.
Mm.
I like thinking about that. I'm like, it reminds me too much of that idea. And I'm like, could it actually be that it's like, oh no, it's not actually, Kurumi's not, it could be, and this is my theory. Kurumi is actually the Mirage card manifested in human form or something similar, in which she's actually just
Mm.
controlling everything and just seeing how things play out.
Mm. I could see that.
It's probably not real because I honestly don't think the writers are going to actually like make that work. But it's like
Yeah,
that
it's
being
it's
a
it's a
potential
question of
like
doubting them.
mm-hmm, because like Kanami says like that is my sister, but something doesn't feel right. Like it could be, oh, it's like, yeah, but she's alive, and that just feels so wrong. or it's not really her sister, but it's really the Mirage card, kind of like maybe like manifesting her sister as kind of like a god of the world, and just she's just kind of toying with everyone the whole time. Like she just made her own fan fiction of the Divine's world. Which, holy crap! Like, which, you know, what a idea to go out on. Like, I know someone, I know that Facebook post talking about like how the vines jumped the shark. It's like, no, if that is true, no, then now we've jumped the shark.
Yeah,
But we've jumped it at the end of the show, so it's like, okay.
That would certainly be one note to end Divines on, and oh my god. I mean, only time will tell, right? This
Because
this does have a full 24, like a 2-core 24 episode, right?
don't know. All we know is we have 2 openings, but we don't know when it's gonna come in or what they could do with it. We just don't know.
Okay.
But it is like, I feel like there is a lot you could do with that, and that Saint Elsewhere is like that Saint Elsewhere ending is like, that would be an interesting way to kind of conclude, or rather initiate that part of the conclusion of the story. It's like, oh wow. Because like I feel like I have seen like shows, like series, like try the idea of the snow globe is, a world trapped, a world is trapped inside a snow globe, right? I feel like I have seen that in like media before, but it's like specifically like the way it was set up. It's like, is that what they're going for? Kind of something like that, of like, this world isn't even real to be. None of these worlds were weird to begin with.
Feel like they'd be dipping into some dangerous fucking territory.
Yeah.
They they from my limited exposure and understanding, this concept of like, what if y'all's world wasn't like real? Uh, you ever heard of a game called Star Ocean 3?
Yes.
I I do not claim to be super intimately familiar with that game, but that is always the textbook example of a game whose like primary twist for so many people jumps a shark. It does more than jump the fucking shark. It launches over it into orbit. In terms of being like, yeah, no, none of this was ever real, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not. I don't think this last Divine season would go as far as being like it was all a simulation the entire time. But
It's like, oh no, because I mean, here's the thing: Star Ocean 3. I know about Star Ocean 3 because that's the one Pat is like saying like, that game is so, that ending, that whole plot twist is so like damaging. It's like the uh the writers and developers are scared to ever have to deal with it again. That's why it's one so far into the future, into they never actually want to deal with it. Kind of like uh Capcom was with Street Fighter 3.
mm,
It's like it was so damaging to the brand. They were like, we will do everything we can to just never touch it until we absolutely have to, quote unquote.
Right.
Because I have heard people say like Star Ocean 3 isn't even a bad game, but it really is just that
Hmm.
moment was just too much.
Right.
And I can only assume it's probably like how it's represented in game 2.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I get.
Because
Like,
like
it's one of those things that I always hear horror stories about, and it's one of those games I technically grew up with that it just stuck in my head. I mean, it's inevitably something that I'm going to end up. I mean, not to fucking go off on a tangent, but Star Ocean is kind of one of those tales of adjacent series that I desperately wanted to try to get into proper. So, it's a matter of when, not if.
I played a Divine Force, like I think
Mhm.
last year, early last year. I enjoyed it, but you could tell it's like yeah, they were running on like very little money.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, like, why that series existing in the capacity it does is interesting, but the understanding that, like, Star Ocean as it exists is in part because Bandai fucking ripped the shit off of that original studio that was working on a Tales of Fantasia, like, a Tales of Fantasia, and that's why the Tales series exists the way it does today. There's just some big dispute back in the day that lost them lost, I think, Triace specifically, that they lost the rights to make that game.
Mm-hmm. And they ended up with Square.
Mhm.
Star Ocean is a Square property, so like yeah.
Yeah.
I think also just like, and then eventually like we got to the current day Square Enix, which is like, if it ain't big budget AAA, it don't matter. I mean, the game as a whole, but like definitely
Right.
that era.
Yeah, you basically have to be in a if you're not one of the AAA big budgets, you have to pray you're a team, oh, fuck, I'm gonna fuck up the name of it. I think it's Asuno, like the Octopath and Triangle Strategy guys,
Yeah,
because 'cause they're making that, the Elliot that isn't a Craig action RPG.
yeah.
That was a fucking
The
you
Octopath
fucking
Traveler
blame
team.
Star Ocean 3. I blame Star Ocean for 3 for throwing us off on that, but I mean, one game in that series was relevant to the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, uh,
But I
let's not.
genuinely am struggling thinking about, like, what else there is to nail about this one episode in particular, because it's so much of it is just the Hikari debacle.
The Hikari Albatross. Uh, I think the discussion about Karumi was very interesting. Of like, what is going on with you, girl?
Yeah, there's a lot of directions it feels like they could take with her based on what they've shown both
And
in episode and OP.
yeah, because I'm thinking about it too, and it's like the way she like kind of acts too. It's like she's like, yeah, but we're okay, right? And it's like Economy is like really like weirded out, even though she's not like pushing her away. Because I think she does like, yeah, I do like to at least enjoy the time with my sister, but it's very much like she's like, that is not completely my sister. Something is wrong.
Mhm.
she just doesn't know, right? She's like, I know that's not my sister. I can't prove it. In fact, it's like, right? It's like, why are you hanging out with them? They want to kill you. Like, it's like there is something with her in this whole thing, which is even weird because I'm like, they're saying like, oh, yeah, it's the climax thing. I'm like, when they talked about the Gabelia set, I'm like, I'm not so sure about that. Because
Yeah, I kind of took that as more like did they say that was the climax of the arc? Like the
of the
climax of the
Divine's
arc?
Parallactic, but considering that, the Lux Finals that they said a different wording for Divine's Lux Finals is like it's gonna be I think it's going to be like the climax of this season probably.
Hmm.
And then it's like, oh, they're actually hiding. Oh yeah, no, there's like one more season. It's like, because I'm like, why would you have two OPs right here? And it's like, I don't know. I am just thinking about now. Here we are. We're at episode 5. Look, I don't know how you do this, and then you're like, oh yeah, we still have a now fight. We still have right. We're gonna get our thing fight. But we need a now fight. We need to actually have
I mean, fuck, we don't have a Kagetsu fight yet.
Burnemy fight. We don't have a Getsu fight, and then we still have the Gabelius fight. Like there's like even with all that, like there's just no way you do all of these reasonably. And I still have this kind of like interesting theory that like there's probably going to be a character who has both a mythish, well, up until Hikari came, my idea was like there's probably a character who is both like who has wields both a mythish and is a phantom, but Hikari kind of took that one if we consider that.
Yeah, I almost wonder if there might have been a time in writing this that they didn't like hmm, like if there was a draft where Kagetsu tests a phantom fighter that isn't entirely on board with fighting for I don't know how that would work though, because like the idea would be that they would have to like win. Cause like if I don't know. You would have to bend some fucking rules that I'm sure they would be more than happy to bend given this episode.
Yeah.
But just like a world where some instance in which they let Kagetsu test a I guess they could spin it as like the Phantom Fighter doesn't necessarily need to win. It's just that Vaserug needs to recognize that the Phantom Fighter is fully dedicated to fighting against the Parallactic. And like they have to see that resolve through them fighting their hardest. And then that is kind of like the angle they would have pitched him bestowing a mythish onto that Phantom Fighter. But I feel like, knock on wood, that might have sailed by this point.
Yeah. I think it would just be kind of like a little bit too much to kind of go through that.
Yeah.
Because it is like, man, there's still so many characters that are not like, they're both going to be like involved in the manga and just kind of like taken out. I don't know.
Do we know if that Kagetsu manga is weekly or not? Or if just like we know
I don't
when
know.
they come out? Okay.
It might, I don't know. We will probably see like this week or something. I think we'll know by
Like
Tuesday.
I'd be curious how long that well, I have an idea of how long it would run for, obviously, relative to the show, but
Yeah.
just past that, it would kind of outlive its relevance, I imagine.